Thank you.
Let's head back to Liz Claman now. She has an interview with one of the smartest banking minds in the world and is going to unveil what he thinks about the European stimulus plan and state of the global economy. Liz.
Lori, as witnessed by all the attention on European Central Bank Chief Mario Draghi, central bankers are in the hot seat, not just here in Davos, but of course worldwide. Why not speak to a former governor of a central bank who's a little bit more free to speak about his experiences and what Mario Draghi has done? We have Jacob Frenkel, who is chairman of JPMorgan Chase International and former governor of Israel's central bank. Welcome, Jacob. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
First, your reaction to Mario Draghi's move, $60 billion per month in stimulus.
Well, I think it was the right move. It is significant. The magnitude is above what, or at the top range of what the markets expected. And it's going to last for a long period of time.
Is it going to work, though, to stimulate growth in Europe?
Well, we need to define what does it mean going to work. Will it provide liquidity? The answer is obviously yes. Will it buy the right assets, namely the sovereigns that have some trouble? The answer is yes. Will it share the risks of things if things do not go well with these securities? There is an addressing of that issue. So in all of that, it is a plus. Will it spur growth? Well, that's an important point because, you know, QE or liquidity creation does not produce jobs in and of itself. Monetary policy is not the solution or the full solution for growth. What is monetary policy supposed to do? And why doesn't Europe grow? Europe needs to reduce its unemployment. Europe needs to improve its productivity. Europe needs to improve its competitiveness. All of these are issues that need to be addressed by governments, not just by the central bank. So why the central bank? The central bank's purpose was to provide the breathing space to governments to do the right job. And if indeed governments pick up their responsibilities together with the very significant actions of the ECB, the European Central Bank, it should work.
That's a big if governments do their job. Let's flip it over to the United States. We have not yet seen rates tighten. Do you think Janet Yellen does it this year?
Well, I believe yes, and I think about it as a very positive development. You know, interest rates all over the world are close to zero. So the conventional policy instruments that central banks always have had at their disposal are practically not usable now. It is the dream of central banks to see the economy sufficiently robust so that they can normalize rates. They call it normalize, namely raise rates. So if the Fed and when it raises rates, and I believe they will do it in the coming few quarters, this will be a signal to the market that the Fed believes that growth is picking up and it is robust enough.
Boy, it's tough to be a central banker. You've got all these cross currents. How did you, as central bank governor of Israel, keep the politics or the politicization away from your decision making?
Well, that's a very centrally important point. Central bank independence has been the sine qua non of all countries that have had good performance. If you are subject to the political pressures, then you sacrifice long-term objectives for short-term illusory gains. So it's very important indeed to ensure that it is done not only by law, but also in practice. In other words, the credibility of the central banks is at stake. I believe, by the way, that the United States Federal Reserve has demonstrated sufficient independence in the sense of sticking by the guns, and it's extremely important that there is a communication system that explains to the market. Today, central banks are part of a dialogue not with politicians, but with the markets. And it is in this regard a major effort.
Jacob, a lot of people are talking about issues here, not just global economic weakness, but about terrorism. What do you think, after being here in Davos for a couple of days and listening to opinions, is the biggest threat to global instability right now?
Well, I believe it is indeed the geopolitical uncertainties, and terrorism is a disease that is very, very contagious. There was a period that there was a lot of naivete in thinking about terrorism, that it is very localized, very regionalized, and if it's there, it's not going to be elsewhere. By now, the nature of terrorism and the equipment that is being used, including cyber, by the way, represents a global issue. And if you want to keep global markets, you need to address those issues and global threats at a global level.
Amen. We'll see if that happens. It's
well,
good
it's
to
essential.
See you.
Yeah. It is essential. Yeah. If next year we sit here and you will continue saying amen, it means that we are still in the prayer stage. Yeah. It is now for the action stage.
Jacob Frenkel, JPMorgan Chase International and former governor of Israel's central bank. We thank you.
My pleasure.
Lori, back to you in New York.